This video will demonstrate the use of constraint files from within the Allegro PCB editor. Constraint files differ from technology files in the fact that they can contain logical information in a design along with physical information, whereas technology files do not contain any logical information, they contain just physical. So one difference also to note is constraint files can only be created and read from within inside the constraint manager. So we'll start the constraint manager utility. This is our current design. We have one net class, a lot of net buses, and some nets and XNets. So I'm going to create a couple different objects here. Let's create off of these pod nets. We'll create a new net class. We'll call them pods. We'll take these Q nets. Let's create a new net group. We'll call them Qs. Go back to the top. You now see that we have on the net classes our new net class called pods and our new net group called Qs. And let's assign the Qs net group the 8mm line physical constraint set. Let's export the constraint file now. File, export constraints, and we'll just call it test for this purposes. All right, that's done. One more thing before we do is just take a look at our board stack up so we know what that looks like. We'll see how that comes into play in a little bit. 6-layer design, 2 plane layers, and 2 routing layers. And let me reopen this design. Remember, to work with constraint files, I must be in Constraint Manager again, so we'll start off the utility. Notice that we only have one net class, we have no net groups. Let's do a file, import constraints. We'll bring in test. And we'll get a report here of everything that happened. Notice that it says it created the pods net class and it created the Qs net group. If we go into Constraint Manager, sure enough, we had the pods net class. Here's our Qs net group, but also notice that it assigned the 8mm line physical constraint set to the Qs. Let's just take a final look at the physical information inside a constraint file. So I'm just going to start a new design. If we go into our stack up real quickly, just verify that we got 2-layer stack up. Remember, our constraint file had a 6-layer stack up. Again, we have to be in Constraint Manager. File, import constraints, point to the test. Notice something going on here. It has a lot of things that said it's created. So again, remember the constraint files do contain logical information. So let's go in to take a look at this. So it did try to create all these different logical types. It tried to create net classes, net groups, and buses. However, since there is no net list in here, you can't put any nets into there. So we could assign nets into all of these different object types when we brought our schematic in if we wanted to. Or we could delete them out if we didn't want them. But we really wanted to look at our cross section. If we look, we do have a 6-layer design with our plane layers, 2 planes, and 2 internal routing layers. This concludes the demonstration on the use of constraint files from within the Allegro PCB editor.